connection. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm looking around to make sure that everything is okay. Yes. Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to ELR 360 Live Sunday, New Year's Day. A quick one today. I hope that all of you had a good New Year's celebration. Let me check this. Checking stuff on my phone. Yes. Okay. I want to show a few photos. Let me download a couple of these. Hello, everybody. Hello, Gil. Hello. Yes, well, I'm reading too. Hello, Paula in Toronto. How is it? How is the weather there? I'm looking outside. It's starting to rain here, which is really good. Happy New Year, everybody. Yes, Happy New Year. Teresa in Chicago. I'm assuming you're in the depth, the beginning of the harsh winter in Chicago. So let's see. Let's save this photo. Oh, I'm saving a lot of photos to show you guys. Hello. Yes, everybody. It's funny because New Year's Eve, everybody has all these expectations for the world's greatest evening ever in the history, and a lot of people are very happy to stay inside. And for those of you who are old enough to remember the Dick Clark New Year's Eve celebrations where you would go from when you're young, staying up potentially all night, to trying to stay up late enough to watch the ball drop. Such memories. So, a lot to talk about. We are going to do it quickly. Also, hello, Donnell. A beautiful day in Austin. I imagine it is warm. Let me see. I'm going to show the inside. When I don't have a guest, I show the inside. And I'm going to show the inside of a wardrobe script from Ray Home Alone. So not a Christmas episode, but an episode that Ray, Tucker Cawley, and I wrote. And I have fond memories because we were in the production office at Warner Brothers between Christmas and New Year's. And it is a ghost town. There is nothing happening at Warner Brothers Studio. And there is, I want to say there's 3,000 to 5,000 people usually on the lot. And when it is empty, it is very empty. I should know the writer, but I know Billy Wilder said, when a writer that he was writing with said, there's nothing as empty as an empty swimming pool. And I think it applies to a movie lot. It is like a ghost town. So Ray Home Alone, written by Tucker and Ray and myself, if that is proper English. And yes, Barbara Walter. So a weird two ties to Everybody Loves Raymond for Barbara Walters, which we will get to. But let us go. Let me show you. There were some questions about how often we did, or how long did Doris Roberts do her party, her Christmas party after the end of Raymond. And it looks like the last season of Raymond was the last season that we went to a party at her house. And I think, everybody moved on to different projects. Peter was no longer with us not long after the show ended. And so it would have been tough to wrangle, I think. And Doris Roberts, who was one of the busiest people in show business, I'm sure had moved on to many other projects. So I was looking through my proof sheets, and for those of you, the proof sheets, I have one here that I was using. Here is, so Pat's Secret. So all of my proof sheets are identified, and again, I know it's backwards, and I won't bore you with details of how I keep all of my photos in order, but when we were doing the book, Everett Loves Raymond, Our Family Album, we had to send everything to China to be printed, including my negatives, so they had to be perfectly labeled and marked, so there could be no room for error. So this is a proof sheet, and apparently during the filming of Pat's Secret, those of you that know, we find out that Pat smokes, was Doris Roberts' party. And so don't worry, everybody. I'm going to share with you many of the ones that you can see. There I am, standing holding a gift, pointing at a gift. And my favorite photo, which I will show you on the proof sheet, is Doris in front of her living room. And I think it's before the party started. I can't tell. It might be at the end of the party, actually. I can only tell by proof sheets. By a negative number. The beauty of digital photography is you can tell, and I win a lot of arguments this way, all of the metadata, meaning the time and sometimes place stamp is all there. So you can tell people exactly when something happened. But it looks like the beginning of the evening. Sorry, we are in a bar, and again, don't worry, I know it's backwards, and I will post many of these. You see Phil in her bar, and then the very last two shots are of Doris. So I just answered my own question. And a rare appearance also of Peter Boyle's wife, Lorraine, who was very seldom out because Peter would leave to go back to his family in New York. So Lorraine, who was always a big supporter of my photographing everything. She is there in the thing. Let me see if I had. Yes, Karen. She had her living room was large. It was a beautiful, beautiful living room. So here we go. Let me show a couple of photos, and again, I will post these. And this was bittersweet because we probably had the party December 17th, 14th, somewhere in there. You can ask that. You can look back and see. And so the show we only had another month left together. So here we go. There is Peter holding up a gift, smiling. Sorry, I'm trying to get my hands out of the way. Writer Lou Schneider, who you've seen, and his wife, writer Steve Scrovan, who you have not met because he has not embraced the internet as we know it. There is Peter's wife smiling behind him. There is Raymond. Next to him is Jeremy Stevens. There you can tell it is a party where people grab random gifts because Ray is holding either wine or olive oil. He does not drink wine. So, and there is Doris and a few people that you will not know. And there, I think the first time ever is, well, I'll tell you who is there. Let's see. Let's scroll. Scrolling. Sorry, I'm going past some photos that are... There we go. This is her, I think, her only time ever at Doris's party. Georgia Angle in the flesh, right there, going to reach a gift. And Georgia Angle, about as nice a human being as I've ever met, and very much like her character. And in the background, you can see, it looks like Phil is there. There's Peter. There's Peter's wife. And, okay, exposure. There we go. Peter's wife, Lorraine, who worked for Rolling Stone. That's how they met. Rolling Stone magazine. She was interviewing. Now, here's our friend Raymond. Give me some hearts, people, if you are enjoying these, because this iPad is extremely heavy. All right, there we go. Peter, Lorraine, and there is Raymond carefully selecting a gift, and it looks like we're getting to the end of the evening. It looks like Patty Heaton is behind him. There we go. Yes, I think that is Patty back there. Ray putting a lot of focus. Ray takes his games very seriously. For those of you that ever get to play golf with him, you will find that he does not take anything lightly, anything that is a sport, and this would have been sport to him. Okay, here is a rare photo. There is Patricia Heaton opening a gift. Behind him, behind her is Randy Soar, who's our first assistant director, and there is Georgia Angle. It's so good. I completely forgot that she went to these parties. There's Doris, and or maybe more in Marie character disapproving of how Deborah is opening her gift. Yes, let me show a few more. So for those of you that haven't joined before, Doris Roberts would have a Christmas party every year. We'd drink in her bar at the beginning, then we'd have a lovely meal, and then we'd sit there and we would exchange gifts. Some people call it Bad Santa, where you pick a number and then you can take whatever number you have. If it's higher than the previous person, you can take their gift or pick from the pile. Here we go. I don't know who said what. This is a priceless moment. There is Patricia Heaton laughing very hard at something somebody said, and there's a very good chance it was Raymond. So there you go. And that, for you photography buffs, is without a flash. That's why it has that very warm tone, because incandescent lights are lacking the blue. The blue. Let me see. I'm scrolling through. Here's one more. Here I am. I don't know what I'm gesturing or talking about, but let's see. My gift selection. There we go. Somebody is heckling me. It's like one of the writer's wives is heckling me, and I'm pushing back, or whatever they would say. All right, let me scroll through for your questions because I can't see them when I'm holding up the iPad. Now, let's see. Again, Doris Roberts, that house, I believe, has been sold. I think it was up in the Hollywood Hills near Beechwood Canyon. It was apparently James Dean lived there for a while. I don't know how long Doris owned it, but it was a very homey, very fun place to visit. All right, let's see. Yes, Happy New Year. Rainy, yes. Okay, here we go. Catching up. Paula, you are in Calgary. Very interesting. You know, I know a little bit about Canada. A little bit about geography of Canada, but not that much. I am, like many Americans, woefully ignorant of provinces and areas in Canada. We just assume that it's cold and everyone can play hockey. Sorry to hear about the passing of Barbara Walters. Yes, we will talk about Barbara Walters, who was an icon of the business. Tasteless Frank, excellent. Watching your... Hello in England. I look at Errol's Raymond the Toaster. You're watching Errol's Raymond the Toaster. I'm sure that is a fan favorite, of course, based on a true life story that happened. Okay, yes, Pat Smokes, an excellent one. So let me scroll through. Yes, Doris's living room, beautiful. By the way, for everybody, Everett's Raymond is now available on Paramount Plus. So a lot of people have asked, a lot of people own it, which is the best way because you can do it, but there's something about watching it live or tuning it in, as we would say, tuning in on television. We were available on Peacock, still available as far as I know on Peacock. It was not available on Netflix, but now it's available on Paramount Plus as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Give me some thumbs up if you know that it is. But that has a much bigger reach, a lot more subscribers on Paramount Plus. So for those of you that have asked, there is your answer. And as far as there's certain cuts of the show, and I was talking to Phil about this the other day, where they just make these random edits. And for us, if we worked on the show, you work so hard to make sure that the act break comes at this moment and the teaser ends at this moment, and et cetera. And then they just need to cut out 2 minutes, so they just cut out the time, and it's heartbreaking for us to watch, and Phil has no control over it. So for those of you that are watching, and sometimes there's because I know on IFC, for example, you see a longer version. If you're watching going, wow, that's a weird cut, know that that's not how the show was. Did Brad ever go to the parties? Absolutely, Brad went to the parties. I think I've shared some photos, but if not, I will definitely post a bunch of photos. Yes, Bobby. Hello, Bobby in Hawaii. Comedy writers heckling each other, really? That is excellent sarcasm. Yes. So Bobby actually brings up a very good point, because in the writer's room, where you would have people, and you're job is to be funny. So your job is to be funny and say smart aleck things all the time, every day. And for us, it was 9 straight years of sitting together. That setting of Doris Roberts' Christmas party couldn't have been a better setup for us making jokes. And I will post more pictures where there are a lot of laughter, a lot of uncontrolled laughter. Hello, Paul Cookie. So, Paul, did they cut off your name that you couldn't do it? Did y'all do a New Year's episode? I can't remember. No. And the reason I was talking about this the other day, the reason we never did a New Year's show is, and this is when you think about the change in time in how stuff is broadcast, the networks where we appeared, where Evers Raymond appeared when there were only 3 networks. I mean, there was a little bit more, but basically there were 3 networks and they ruled the world. And everything went by ratings. And so you would never have a lot at stake for a New Year's, for anything that's broadcast between Christmas and New Year's, because the assumption was not a lot of people are watching TV then. So the Christmas special would happen and air before Christmas. And so it might be the last week that you would get ratings that you could, quote unquote, count on. So a lot of times they would have a rerun. And in the old days, as you know, you would be like, oh, it's a rerun. Oh, I already saw this. Or you're excited to see that rerun. So the New Year's episode was not something that would be on our radar. And that is the reason. And now that you can get it on demand, or it's not quite, Nielsen ratings is something that still exists, but to give you an example, I think, Evers Raymond would get, for example, 20 million viewers, and that's unheard of today. So, and prior to that, a show like MASH or All in the Family might get 40 million viewers. So you couldn't even, I think maybe a hit TV show now is 3 million viewers. And so whenever Raymond was on the air, we would have been canceled within weeks if we were getting 3 million viewers. So times have changed. So there's not as much at stake in the ratings world that way. Yes, still on Peacock. I have Peacock here in the UK, but ELR isn't on it. Karen, interesting. Karen from the UK. TV Land here in Florida does broadcast in HD. It looks blurry. That's interesting because Evers Raymond was shot on film from beginning to end, and film is effectively HD. And I even remember when we switched over to the potential ability to broadcast in HD, they had to redo everything in the house. They had to give us new floor, like a remodel of the house, and we also added lights to shine on the actresses, little dedicated lights with. Oddly enough, they call it the Barbara Walters filter, which is a certain kind of peach-colored filter that goes over the light to make you look better. There you go. There's a little trivia that I didn't think I would talk about today. If you look it up, I think it's a Lee filter 188 or something for all of you grips out there. Okay, let's catch up on questions before we get to the Barbara Walters appearance. Your favorite episode is when Marie got sprayed by Robert. Yes. Frank Paints the House. That was written by Scott Buck, and I would love to have him on here because he also wrote the Rome series that was on HBO, so quite a big spread. I noticed recently on the very last episode here that Ray mouths another cast line unknowingly, and you never caught it before. I am going to have to watch that. You're saying Ray mouths one of the, whose line was it? Could it have been one of the twins, maybe? That's interesting. Sorry, I'm skipping through these questions. Paul, they made the Roman numeral case. Okay. Very good. So, hello, Michael. We have, yes, follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, ELR360, and there are plenty of other sites on there. I go on occasionally, or people that I know go on, and there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of great information on all of those other sites. But every once in a while I read something and I go, That is 100% wrong. But I do love the heated discussions about the show. All right. Now, the Doris Roberts party, we've talked about that. Patty Heaton did have a party, and I just found those photos. So give me some hearts if you want me to post some pictures. Patty Heaton, the last year of Raymond, I think had a Christmas party as well, which was very, very fun. Hanging out. Anytime we got to socialize with our friends who worked on the show, that was always great. Okay, so The View, Barbara Walters. Okay, I'm saying okay because I'm thinking about how much do I want to frame Barbara Walters. For those of you that I'll give the benefit of the doubt, if you're in Norway, you might not know her. If you're in the United States and you're over the age of 40, I'm going to say you know her, or over the age of 30. So most recently you would know her from The View, where Ray and I were guests. But Barbara Walters was this groundbreaking reporter during the time when women weren't taken seriously in the news world, etc. So rather than give you her whole biography, which you can look up, I do know that she, came up against the glass ceiling where it just wasn't something that a woman could rise up in a certain field, and it was many, many, many fields, especially back in the 50s. And for people that are born, in the past 20 years, it's almost hard to believe the barriers or the understood thing that a woman can't do this, especially as somebody with a friend who's friends with a lot of very high achieving women, including one of my friends is a 2-star general in the Air Force. So it's hard if you don't have a historical perspective, just like it's hard to imagine a time without an iPhone when you could just text somebody and say, I'll be late, where you're reliant, et cetera, on landlines. And I guess before then, horse and buggy. So without giving an entire history of Barbara Walters, one of the things that I think came out of her being prevented from asking questions during the news portion where she was promoted to, I think she was allowed to ask questions. One serious question. I know this sounds absurd. She could ask more serious questions if it was on a remote shoot, and that kind of led to her doing what we know in the United States is these Barbara Walters specials, where she would have these very, very heartfelt or very intense interviews one-on-one with people. And this is also before everybody had a podcast. Like, look, anybody, I'm sitting here talking to you. And in the old days, an interview on TV was, especially long form, was really, really rare. You just didn't see that. On The Tonight Show, there would be 5 to 6 minute views. So that little ancillary thing where Barbara Walters was told you can only ask one question unless it's a remote, that turned into something huge. That became a giant thing. And then ultimately she created The View, which was an ad-lib panel of people talking, okay? For those of you that haven't seen it, it's been running for a very long time. I think she left in 2014. But again, you historically, you have to look at it that type of format, which you can see everywhere on the internet now, just didn't exist. It was a very risky thing to have that much of a free-form type of show. So Ray Romano and I had done a documentary, and we had to do press for it. And so we were going to be on doing a bunch of press. They call it a press tour, where you're just doing whatever shows that you can promote whatever it is. So we knew we had to do The View, and Barbara was there that day. And so Ray and I were backstage, and I'll post. I've obviously, if you've been following this channel, you know that I take a lot of photos. So I took a lot of photos backstage, and I said to Ray, we're basically going to sit there, and what the way the View runs is everybody has kind of questions. All the panelists have questions. So Barbara and Meredith Vieira was there, and there was a substitute newscaster, Hispanic newscaster who was there, woman, and Joy Behar, and I forget a couple of other ones. But they all have questions. So they're not necessarily listening to what you're saying. They're waiting to jump in with their question, which is not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just how it is. And you can't expect them to know everything about what you guys are doing or whoever the guest is doing. So they might not be listening. So I said to Ray, rather than sitting there feeling like, oh, we're on our mother's couch and being interviewed and feeling kind of, let's try and do something funny out there. So let me know if you want to see that clip from our appearance on The View. I'll see if I can dig it up and post it somewhere. And the documentary was called 95 Miles to Go. It was our road tour that we actually started filming during Everett was Raymond, and we ultimately sold it to HBO, which ran it for 3 years. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. So the Barbara Walters experience was, she was phenomenal. You'll see what we did funny on there. There was a header that you don't see where they have a cold opening, and they talk about this woman who's a guest who says, I would only date somebody if I knew I was going to marry them. And then they were talking about something about if a couple watches X-rated movies, or is it good or bad? So we're in the green room at this point, and they have this like cold open discussion without a guest. So when you see the clip that we are on, that part is what we heard that you guys won't be the beneficiary of. But after we were doing the thing, and it turned out very funny. But Barbara Walters, she said, you were a delight to me, which I thought was very nice and very complimentary, because she could have just as easily said, please don't try and do what you did on the show. I had no idea, but she was great, and she was very natural, and she was, to say she's great and very natural is a little bit like saying Frank Sinatra's, he can hold a tune. So I'll post those pictures. And if I can post, I try to only post photos that I have taken on this site, but I'll see if I can post that video, dig it up, and see if it'll air, etc. Was I on before Whoopi? I don't think, so Whoopi wasn't there for our appearance. She may have done guest spots. I think it was spring of 2007. That is something that you can easily look up. Let's see, here's... sorry, I'm reading and I can't tell if it's German or Dutch. I think it's Dutch. Komt wel weer op TV omdat wind echt leuk series hoop ik. Okay. We'll try and post it. It's a very, very short clip. And, in the old days, when I say the old days, on YouTube, if you posted something, there are things that scout the internet and scout YouTube, and they pull it instantly as a violation of copyright. And it would say on YouTube, oh, you were flagged by this. And so it's a much, much different experience. And even along the lines of, if you go to a show, I know this, Ray was a fan of, I think, American Idol, and in 1 year it flipped. In 1 year it was no pictures, no this, confiscate everything, and it flipped to, okay, if you take pictures, make sure you post hashtag this. So they realize the publicity benefit of taking pictures. However, that was really not the case. They were very, very strict about taking pictures. And yes, in certain concerts, still to this day, they'll take your camera. They'll take your phone, which is effectively a camera. Let's see. I saw a clip of Oprah paying tribute to Barbara when she retired on YouTube. So many guests came out. Yes, I think that was her last appearance on The View, where many female journalists came out and paid tribute to Barbara Walters. So the other tie to Everett was Raymond is the Museum of the American it's changed its name now, but the Museum of Television and Radio did an award ceremony. And they honored Everett Raymond, Barbara Walters, and I'm trying to think if there was something else. And I've mentioned it before because we had this ceremony, and I believe Tony DeSena, who's been a guest, who wrote on The Tonight Show, who got me not this mug, but my Johnny Carson mug. But I am going to take a sip of my quotes mug. Thank you, which reminds me, everybody, thank you for all the feedback. Thanks for taking photos. We will be sharing all of your photos, so don't worry, as I said in the past. We're not deciding to leave people out. We just haven't gotten around to it. And also, if you ever have a problem with any of your mugs or any of your orders, definitely contact us and let us know, and we'll make it right. And then we're still waiting on the refrigerator magnet fork and spoon. There's been COVID-related delays and one production-related. So as soon as you see me holding it up, you know it will be ready for delivery. And that's why it says available for pre-order, and I think there is some confusion. If you order a whole bunch of things, it'll say your order is shipped, but it's confusing because not the fork and spoon yet, but I will let you guys know as soon as it does. Hello, Bobby. Did I meet a writer on The View, Frank Santopadre? Now, it's interesting. Why do you ask about Frank Santopadre? Because the answer is, I don't think so. Frank Santopadre, for those of you watching, is a great guy who also did a podcast with Gilbert Gottfried. I don't think he was there in 2007, but I recently met Frank, and he is a great guy. Do you know him? Bobby? Because he is a wonderful person. All right, let's see. To be on TV again because I really like Serious Hope. Okay. Sorry, scrolling back for these questions. And again, for those of you that rewatch this, all the questions go away, which is why I try not to miss any. Let's see. Yes, scrolling down. I would like to show the inside of Ray Home Alone. If for those of you that missed the beginning, this is Tom Caltabiano, and at the very beginning I was talking that Ray Tucker Cawley, who wrote the Baggage episode and many, 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 many great episodes of Raymond, and I were stuck on the Warner Brothers lot trying to finish Ray Home Alone, which I don't even know when it shot. Okay, it filmed February 8th. Okay, so we had to get it done. So let's take a look, everybody. Let's take a look at the inside of Ray Home Alone. And what's interesting is when you've watched the episode 100 times, the clothes of especially certain outfits, and I would say Ray, of all the outfits, Ray's are the least iconic. I would say Patricia Heaton's and Doris Roberts you recognize more. Let's see what Ray's. I'm looking at these for the first time, folks. Everybody, I think there's Ray. I'm trying to even remember the episode that we wrote. Ray. A lot of Ray changes. So here we go. Inside the wardrobe department, there is Raymond. You can see his change number 3. There is Raymond again. And it looks like maybe a makeup person behind him. All right. Yes, and every detail. One thing, if you've watched this since the beginning, you're amazed at how much effort it goes into making the show, because it just seems like maybe 5 or 6 actors kind of making up stuff as they go along, and the camera captures it. There's Ray's clothes, making sure for continuity that they have it. Wow, a lot of Ray clothing changes. So there we go, in bed with Patty. And there is Madeline Sweeten holding, I don't know, is it a parrot? Oh, and her I guess, I'm not good with, is that I don't know what you call that. Is that a ponytail with some sort of special thing? Could I sound any more ignorant about hair at the moment? Ralph is rolling his eyes now. There's Patty. Okay. And again, there's Patty again next to Ray, so that must have been so obviously Ray Home Alone tells us that the other cast members weren't in there as much. And there we had to see what Patty, a French braid, thank you. How frustrating is that to hear me not say French braid right away? Thank you for jumping in there. French braid. There you go. That I will be saying, hopefully winning bar bets. Okay, there's Peter Boyle, and you can see writer Lou Schneider, who also played Snaps in the Christmas picture behind Peter. They're in Frank and Marie's kitchen there. And Doris, Marie there. You can see the big fork and spoon. The image is backwards again because we're on Instagram. Tom Caltabiano showing wardrobe photos from Ray Home Alone, written by Tom and Ray and Tucker. Wow. There's Brad Garrett with his date. Now I remember. Ray comes over. Brad in his, Robert in his, speaking of Brad, this that holds the script together is called a Brad. And that just broke. So my Brad just split apart. Let me put that together. Let's see, Brad. Then who is left? The fetching young girl when he was dating. And I'm guessing Ray's buddies. Yeah, here we go. Oh, also, a shout out. I will post some photos. Happy birthday to John Manfrolotti, whose birthday was yesterday. John Manfrolotti. Happy birthday, John Manfrolotti, who played Gianni on Era's Raymond and a very, very, very longtime friend of Raymond's. And, oh, wow. Was Kevin James in that episode? And that looks like it could be me behind Kevin. Kevin James was in that episode. I don't remember that. And there is Robert's date. I think Robert... is that where Ray cuts his finger? It might be. It might be because they all had to do stand-up. That's a really good thing. Ray, for those of you that don't know what that statement is from Donnell, is in real life, Ray is cutting cheese on a cheese board in Robert's apartment, and he goes, cut, and he says, I mean that really, and he had to rush to the doctor, to the local clinic, and get his hand sewn up. So it was about an hour delay in front of the live audience, which we didn't care about Ray's feelings. We just cared about the audience getting tired and not getting the laughs that we worked so hard to get. All right, let me scroll back before we say goodbye this week. French braid. Great. Looking forward, yes, to Somewhere in Queens. I posted that picture of Phil and Ray holding the respective mugs. Phil holding Ray a mug from Somewhere in Queens, which is Ray's movie that he wrote, directed, and starred in. And I'm going to say that there's always a suspicion when people are, for example, in front of the camera, or you hear these type of vanity project sounding things, and you will see that Ray did an amazing job in this movie. And even though I am very, very biased, it is an outstanding movie. I saw it at the Tribeca Film Festival and many, many cuts of it. It's really, really a very well done movie. And it'll be out in theaters in the spring. Season 3, Ray Home Alone episode. Yes. Yes, Barbara, the Somewhere in Queens mug, I don't know what they're going to do for merchandising yet. Hello, Noah. Welcome, even late. Yes, Doug was in the first scene because Ray is trying to get the guys all to stay longer and not to leave so he won't be home alone. Thank you, Donnell, for bringing me up to speed on a script that I should know better. I did not watch that before I came on. Yes, and for those of you, I have read this misinformation. Oh, by the way, I think I just found a picture of me and Kevin and Ray, which I'll post if you want, and we're all in tuxedos, and I don't know where we're going, but it's a fun picture to see. And if I could find let me see if I can see my iPad. I don't see it, or my phone anywhere. Lost my iPad. Oh, there it is. Maybe I can find it. But a lot of misinformation I've read about King of Queens. And so King of Queens was a show that was not created by anybody having to do anything with Era's Raymond. And it was a show that they cast Kevin James in which they cast Kevin James. Whatever English you might prefer to go with, the correct English or my English. Here we go. The beauty of digital. So here is, and maybe somebody can look this up because, or I should remember, February 22nd, 1998. Is that when we did it? So here we go. Never before seen photo. There we go. That was worth sticking around for. Kevin James, Ray, and myself, and I don't know where we're going. February 22nd, 1998 was an award show because we didn't pal around in tuxedos. I'll see if I can post that photo. All right, let me scroll up. So that means if Ray Home Alone was season 3, is that correct? Season 3? It gets confusing even for me because the seasons get split by the calendar year, meaning season 1 is 96, 97, season 2 is 97, 98, right? Season 3 is 99, 98, 99. So did we film? Because we have to remember that Patricia Heaton was pregnant, and we might have written that because she was exceptionally pregnant. All right, scrolling down to make sure I don't miss. Yes, Karen in Plymouth, England. Karen, I just saw my friend Simon Ford, who has his own gin, but he worked for Plymouth Gin, and that's where I met him, at Plymouth Gin, and he loves Plymouth Gin, even though he has his own gin. A delicious gin, Ford's gin, but Plymouth Gin as well, and a very interesting place for an American to visit. All right, final questions. Thank you so much. All of your. Eventually, I will get to your questions. If I miss one of your messages, eventually I get around to it, or somebody points out that message to me. So definitely keep writing. I love the dialogue that everybody has. I will post the pictures of the greed party, etc. I hope everybody is having a good New Year so far. We're only a few hours in, so there's still a chance to save it. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week.